Hi, I'm Harper with Life with Leverage, and we coach you on the infinite banking concept and how you can become your own banker. Today, I'm here with Brayam, who heads up our operations and servicing for Life with Leverage. And we're going to go through, if you have a policy with us, best practices for how we can service your policy and what you can expect and how we can work together in a very efficient manner. Now, I will preface this with there's always changes that will happen over the months and years to come with the insurance carriers we work with how we work as an agency, and how we work as agents, right? We are always building out better systems. In fact, we're going to have a company phone number that you could text, you could call, and then a company email address that's specific to servicing if you're ever needing something so that we can efficiently help you quicker in the future. Now, with that said, Brayam, can you go through some typical servicing requests we get from day to day or every day? And maybe we should start with premiums, which essentially is how you're getting money into these life insurance contracts. You pay a premium. How do we get the money from point A to point B in the most efficient way that we can help people with Life with Leverage?
Of course. So typically, we have to have an account on file, right? If it's not on file, I would request that from you with some paperwork. And at that point, we can do a lot of service requests on your behalf. So that means funding your policy, whether you're funding that annually, quarterly, or even monthly, right? And then on top of that is access. So access is really important, having that account on file, and then reaching out to us with a generous timeline to take into consideration the stage of your policy and where we are in the timelines when there's crediting and interest due. So those are important considerations we have to take into mind before we push forward the request.
What Brayam was saying, account on file, is your bank account on file with the insurance company, as in the insurance carrier your policy or policies are with. What is really good practice is if you have one segregated or separate bank account you open for you or you and your spouse or you and your kids, put your guy's name on that account. It could be a joint account if needed. You put your money into that account and then pay your premiums. And whenever we need to disperse funds and get a policy loan, we can disperse to that account. The name in the account needs to match the ownership of the policy. Okay, so for anti-money laundering reasons, the banks want, or insurance companies want, the policy, if it's owned by Harper Jones, bank account has to have my name on it. If it's owned by a business, it has to go to that business, right? It's got to match when money's dispersed. When it's actually contributed, doesn't have to be the case, but a great servicing best practice, right? That's what this video is to have a separate bank account, title it IBC account, use that for your clearinghouse. Another thing is that puts the bank account on file. We can draft premium, interest due, loan repayments on your behalf very easily. And we can also disperse loans up to at least currently $25,000. And if we need to, above that, we just send you a simple DocuSign. Now, that is premiums. You could also use your client portal. We can draft on your behalf with the account on file, or we also can then send you a form or call it in with you. Those are the four options. We prefer sending you a form, putting an account on file that we consistently use, or calling in with you. The portal right now, they're making changes over the next 12, 18 months, be more efficient for you guys. But right now, it makes the most sense to do this. Now, next thing is policy loans best practices. So why don't you talk about, this is probably the number one or number two requests we get day to day, and how people can best efficiently get access to their funds and what they need to look out for if they're close to their anniversary.
Right. Timelines are very important with this strategy. It's a financing vehicle, and we often compare it to a savings account. However, there are a couple more parties involved, so therefore there needs to be a handful of business days to make this happen. So be mindful of when you need the funds into the policy and back out of the policy, as well as understanding that when we are close to anniversary, there are multiple things happening, right? There's a couple moving parts, whether that's if you have a current loan out, whether there's interest due, as well as understanding, hey, like we are about to have some crediting. What will that look like? What will our access look like before our anniversary or after? So because of those considerations, we ask for at least 5 to 7 business days to expect those funds to be returned back to your account to be ready to disperse into whatever opportunity you're looking to get into.
So if you put fresh cash back into your policy by repaying an outstanding policy loan, fresh premium at your anniversary, base premium, or you have paid up additions you're putting at any point during the year, we want the funds to clear for 5 to 7 days, specifically business days, before we reborrow against it. Okay? If you're around your anniversary, they're of course crediting dividends and there's some other accounting being done. So we like to give that buffer for sure during that period to make sure we get the numbers correct and processed properly. And then when we're actually taking the funds, what would you say best practices is so we can make sure people get their funds quickly? Usually when we send the request in, it takes 2 to 4 business days, sometimes quicker, but we like to say give it 5 to 7 business days heads up, right, when money's already there and already cleared, just so we know we can get it to you in an efficient manner, even though it might happen quicker. So do you have anything else to elaborate on the policy loans and any other best practices there?
It's important to let us know of any additional context behind what you're dispersing towards so that we could help coach in any sort of repayment structuring options, right? We have to be good bankers and good lenders at the same time.
Correct. So by us putting money into an insurance contract, it really is an alternative to a savings vehicle and really an ideal savings vehicle with it growing in there, tax deferred, really tax free if handled properly, then we can leverage against it. When we leverage against it, the cash in the policy stays there, compounding for us. We borrow against it from the insurance pool of capital that we're also part owner of because it's a mutual insurance company. And if our cost of capital to borrow is 5%, for example, and our policy is earning 4 to 5% tax-free, right? Great. It's like an interest-free loan, but better because it's growing tax-free in here. You don't pay back at 5%. You pay back at the market rate of interest because you got to think of yourself like a banker. If your cost of capital at a bank is 5% and you loan at 5%, how long are you going to be in business for? So you need to raise what you're repaying over time, 7, 8, 9%, pay that back with interest throughout the years, recapitalize your policy more, build your bank up bigger, reborrow, do it again. That's why they call it the infinite banking concept. Now, sometimes how we do that can be a few different ways. We're always going to coach you on setting up a loan repayment so that we can solve for you always having money flowing back to you instead of third parties. Now, one other thing is we do get other service requests. We have putting premium in, right? We have policy loan disbursements. And then we also have additional servicing requests, beneficiary change, maybe an owner change. Maybe you want to gift the policy having your kids to them and they're older now or getting married. Any other additional changes that people may or may not have, you can simply reach out to us and we're going to make sure we handle that for you. Some people might change their bank account on file or for their monthly drafts or loan drafts through the portal. And yes, we work with multiple carriers, but we always recommend going directly through us. That's part of what you get if you're one of our clients is additional white glove servicing. We'll handle everything in the background, make sure we can check up on it because one, you go through us, we'll do the brunt work, right, and the extra admin work. 2, we're able to input it in our internal system where we track the service request to ensure that the accounting is done right, that the servicing is done properly, and that it's happening on time. So make sure you utilize us at Life of Leverage so that we can make your time limited and your results the best that we possibly can for you. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me or Brayam. It's harper@lifewithleverage.com or Brayam, Brayam, @lifewithleverage.com. Thank you for listening.